Well, I'm really excited because today is October 17 and I'm hiking the Pulpit Rock Trail. It's going to be a gorgeous trail. It's in Nelson, British Columbia. And I'm excited because it's my grandpa's birthday today. My grandpa has long since passed away. He's sleeping in the ground right now. But he's the one that brought me up here many, many years ago when I was a kid. And I haven't done this trail since then. So I'm so glad that it worked out that I could do it today. So I'll be chatting with you as we hike along here on this gorgeous fall day. Back in Bible times, men could write a letter of divorce to their wives for anything. If they burnt their meal, or if they bared their arms in public, or if he found somebody else more pleasing, he could just write a letter and say, "You're out of here, lady. Go back to your parents." So there was no law courts back then, no authorities. It was just very easy to dispose of your spouse. Back in Jesus' day, Pharisees came to him, challenging him and asking if people were allowed to write a letter of divorce, because Moses permitted it back at the beginning of the Jewish nation. And Jesus says it was only because of the hardness of your hearts that he permitted that. But he said the only real reason that you can have a divorce is for marriage infidelity or sexual immorality. Those were the guidelines he gave for divorce. Of course, what Jesus really desires is that we all be drawn back to Eden. When he created man, he made the male and female, and he said that we should leave our fathers and our mothers and become one flesh. That's what his desire is. But of course, sin entered the world and totally shattered the image of what marriage is supposed to be like. Did you know that Jesus says that if a man even looks at a woman and lusts after her, it's the same as committing the act? So a woman would have many times over, I'm sure, grounds for divorce if that is the case. Which way I'm gonna take? It's gonna go with the metaphor of my life. So here we go. Looks like I'm about to Pulpit Rock. Yeah. How special. So I'm so pleased to show you the city of my birth. Beautiful Nelson, British Columbia. And my mom grew up here from when she was 5 years old till college age, or until she got married. And it's so funny because she married a Nelson. So my dad's name is Nelson. So how cool is that, eh? Maybe someday I'll come back and we can hike on further up. But right now I want to take you back to Nelson and show you some very special places around town that I fondly remember. This is a well-traveled trail, and I met some really neat people on here, like one 92-year-old man made it up here without any troubles. And then a young girl was hiking this in her bare feet. Imagine going on these rocks in her bare feet. And then another couple of young ladies were praying together on the trail. I thought that was so cool. So my friend Linda and I often do that, but it's neat to see that other people do it as well. So yeah, back in Bible times, marriage and divorce was more of a business transaction than it was a love relationship. Woman was more of a man's possession back then, and Jesus wanted to change that. The marriage covenant was supposed to be a blessing and uplifting to all humanity.
The companionship of husband and wife was ordained of God as the ideal environment in which to mature a Christian character. Most of the personality adjustments of married life and the difficulties encountered by many in making these adjustments call for the exercise of self-restraint and sometimes self-sacrifice. True love is patient and kind. It does not insist on its own way. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. When Christians enter into the marriage relationship, they should accept the responsibility of applying these principles. Husbands and wives who thus apply these principles and who are willing for the grace of Christ to operate in their lives will find that there is no difficulty, however serious it may appear to be, that cannot be solved. Where dispositions are not congenial, the Christian solution is to change dispositions, not spouses.
Street is where my grandparents lived for many, many years. Toboggan down this street. In the wintertime we got piles of snow here and it was so fun to visit my grandparents and go down this street. And there's my grandparents' house. It looks a bit different now, but so many wonderful memories. They lived there from the 60s onward until they both passed away. The hospital where I was born many years ago. This is the old fire hall. Well, it looks like it's still in use. But if you know the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin, it was filmed in Nelson, and this is featured in it. Nelson is a heritage town. It's got lots of old buildings, and this is an old Anglican church. I just love the stonework, and this door is amazing. Nelson is a great city for vegetarian food, and this is where we're going to eat today. This place is perfect because it's a cafe inside of a used bookstore. How convenient is that? You can read and eat at the same time. I'm feeling very hungry today. Oh, this is gonna be good. And this is called the Nelson Spatzel. Very creamy and delicious. It's got fresh mushrooms in there, spinach. Very nice. All right, let's try the spatzel now. Spatzel is delicious. It's so chewy. Very flavorful. Wow. Wonderful after a hike. Nelson has a ski hill not far away, so there's lots of outdoor clothing and sports stores here. Nelson is a hippie town. The bunch of draft dodgers from the 60s and 70s came here from the States. And so yeah, it's a very interesting town to people watch in. Railway station, and it's now a visitor center. Hume Hotel is a very old hotel in Nelson. have such special fond memories of coming to Lakeside Park as a kid. There was the neatest toy horses that we would rock on. They had such unusual rides here. And then bringing picnics here with my grandma and grandpa, and what a special memories. And we would come down here as kids and go swimming in the lake, but not that often because it was pretty cold. What a pretty scene here this evening. Memories of playing tennis here as a kid. Oh, so this is the old ferry crossing. You can see it across the way there. We were there earlier this morning, but that was before my time. I don't remember any ferries here. Over and over again in the Bible, God likens his relationship with his people as a marriage relationship. He calls himself their husband, and the church is the bride. For your husband is your maker, whose name is the Lord of hosts. As the bridegroom rejoices over his bride, so your God will rejoice over you. And over again in the Bible, God's people play the harlot and go and serve other gods and wander from God. And it's likened to fornication. She will pursue her lovers, but will not overtake them. And she will seek them, but will not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my first husband, for it was better for me than now. Surely as a woman deals treacherously with your husband, so you have dealt treacherously with me, O house of Israel, says the Lord. You adulterous wife who takes strangers instead of her husband. And amazingly, God even had one of his prophets marry a prostitute to role play how God feels about his children. Hosea loved his wife so much, and yet she strayed from him and had children with other men. And that's the same as it is with God. He still loves us, even when we stray. Did you know that husbands are supposed to love their wives just as Christ also loves the church and gave himself for the church? Do you think that the church, which was represented by the woman in the Bible, was perfect? No, but Christ gave himself up for her. And that is what husbands are supposed to do as well. Even if the woman is not perfect, he is supposed to be Christ-like and love her. So by the example of Jesus, there is really no excuse for divorce. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Isn't it just so beautiful and comforting to know that no matter what we do, Jesus still wants to have an intimate relationship with us. This street is where my mom grew up. Gyro Park has such special memories for me. Gyro Park is such a special park for me. My grandpa used to bring me here when I was just a child, and we would play on the swings and the fun play equipment that they had here. And I always remember it's less than a kilometer from here to his house. And when we would walk here, there would be big beetles on the road, and I was always so scared of those beetles. So those are my fond memories of Gyro Park. It also has a great viewpoint of the city. Look at how they've incorporated these rocks in the wrought iron. That's pretty cool. And just for reference, up there is Pulpit Rock. You can see Kokanee Glacier Mountain up there, where I hiked a month ago or so. Lots of sailboats on the water. My parents have been married for 45 years. And that's quite an accomplishment. And then my dad decided that he wanted to divorce her. So he did. And you would think, what? 45 years? You've hung in there that long. Can't you do it the rest of your life? But no. So I asked him, what was going to happen to Mom if he divorced her, because my mom did not want to get divorced. And he goes, she can go live on the street as far as I'm concerned. So of course I'm not going to let my mom go live on the street. So because of the divorce, my life has taken a different turn, an unexpected turn, and it has affected me. So divorce affects children no matter what the age. Divorce is ugly, isn't it? So tell me how your life has been impacted by divorce. Have you had to go through any of that heartbreak? Leave a comment or write to me. I would love to hear from you. God will never divorce us. We may divorce him, but he will never abandon us. Thank you for watching, and until my next epic adventure, Assalamu alaikum, shalom, peace.